South Sudan and Sudan agreed to resolve outstanding issues, including Abiy administration. Chinese import bank grants South Sudan $150 million to develop the airport. And General Education launches construction of 330 schools for girls. Hello and welcome to South Sudan Television News Hour live from Juba. My name is Palek Matthew Ubur, and now the news in details. The President of Sudan, Omar Hassan Al-Bashir, accompanied by senior officials from his government, arrived in Juba, South Sudan's capital, today. As Juma John reports, top government officials led by the President of the Republic, General Salva Kiir, received the Sudanese leader.
President Bashir was received by President General Salva Kiir Mayardit. The two presidents smiled and hugged each other. The two national anthems of Sudan and South Sudan were sung at the airport shortly after the arrival of President Bashir. He inspected the guard of honor before receiving the warm welcome from the government officials, including the Speaker of the National Legislative Assembly, ministers, governors of Central Equatoria State and Western Equatoria State. President Bashir was also received by his advance team, led by the Sudanese Defense and Interior Ministers, who landed before the President. The visit is to strengthen the rocky implementation of the 9 agreements and push for swift implementation.
And he is now heading to the Council of Ministers. It is there that he and the President of South Sudan, General Salva Kiir, will discuss issues related to security, Abiy, and implementation of the 9 agreements. And from there he will go to the Juma prayers. It's there that he will pray and then come to attend the journalists in J1. For SSTV News, I'm Juma John Stephen reporting.
Sudan and South Sudan have agreed to normalize ties and start cross-border cooperation. This came today during the meeting between the two presidents in Juba. The two sides subsequently agreed to restart oil shipment, grant each other citizens residency, increase border trade and encourage close cooperation between their central banks. Aliandro Lotok has more in this report.
The President of the Republic, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, and his Sudanese counterpart, Omar Hassan Ahmed Al-Bashir, have agreed to fully and unconditionally implement the cooperation agreement they signed in Addis Ababa last year. Bashir's visit comes in response to an invitation extended by his South Sudanese counterpart, Salva Kiir Mayardit, who visited Khartoum on 8 October 2011. Addressing journalists at the presidential palace in Juba, President Kiir said he had agreed with Bashir to continue talks to solve all conflicts over disputed regions, including establishment of Abiy administration. President Kiir also said if given chance, he could negotiate between Khartoum and the SPLM North to settle their differences through peaceful negotiations.
If I'm asked to help in mediation, if there is anything that I can do to convince Nasdale, to accept, to negotiate with the government of Sudan, I will do it. I have one trust that these officers who are fighting, they were officers under my command. ولو في ناس ده انه انا وديتهم في المعارك عبد العزيز وياسر انا دخلتهم في المعركه يوم واحد بعد ما ينتهوا من التدريب. I was the commander and they fought under my command. So today if I have to talk to them that جماعة لمصلحة بتاعكم بدكم مصلحة بتاع دولة السودان ولمصلحنا كجيران stop fighting you negotiate. الحق بتاعكم ده شيلوا في راس الترابيزة مش في شكله خلاص ما وريتوا يدكم شاكلتوا وشنو. but now reasoning for what made you to take up arms, yes, it has to be addressed on the table, not with a gun. If that confidence is still there, kuna gadin mom sawa, I will convince them and they will come down to talk to the government of Sudan.
Meanwhile, the Sudanese president Omar Al-Bashir said he wanted peace and normal relations with Juba in his first visit to the country since South Sudan gained independence in July last year. The two countries agreed early this year to resume pumping oil through pipelines from south to north and ease the tensions which had threatened to reignite war. Analysts hope Bashir's visit will help the two sides overcome deep mistrust and solve their remaining disputes over the ownership of Abyei and other contested border regions. President Bashir said he had ordered Sudan's borders with South Sudan to be open to allow free circulation of persons and goods between the two countries.
والهدف من هذه الزيارة هو حقيقة أول حاجة إعطاء دفعة قوية لتنفيذ المصفوفة والاتفاقيات اللي وقعناها في سبتمبر الماضي واللي بدأ فيها التنفيذ حقيقة بصورة جادة مطمئنة أنه نحن حنمشي إن شاء الله في هذا المشوار إلى نهايته. كان اللقاء مع الأخ سلفا لقاء مثمر تطرقنا فيه على العلاقات بين البلدين والتزمنا أنه نحن ننتقل دائما بالعلاقات من حسن إلى أحسن وأنه نزيل كل العقبات اللي بتواجه المواطنين في كلا البلدين سواء في الحركة عبر الحدود أو التجارة أو كل ما يتعلق بحياة المواطنين في البلدين والمصالح المشتركة في البلد الآخر. القضايا العالقة كما ذكر الأخ سلفا اتفقنا أنه نواصل الحوار فيها وبالحوار إن شاء الله سنصل للنتائج المرجوة اللي ممكن يعني تحل القضايا الحل المرضي اللي يثبت الأمن والاستقرار بين البلدين. نحن بلدين بتربطنا الكثير من المصالح المشتركة والعلاقات الاجتماعية لأن دي علاقات اتبنت عبر سنين طويلة كنا في بلد واحدة. أنا أقول هذه الزيارة أتت بالنتائج المرجوة منها في تأكيد التزامنا والإرادة السياسية لتنفيذ هذه العلاقة وإن شاء الله ما ورد في البيان المشترك بيوضح ما تم الاتفاق عليه وخاصة تكوين اللجنة عليا بين البلدين برئاسة نائبي الرئيس ودي عشان تنظر في القضايا العالقة أو القضايا ما بين البلدين وتطويره وفي مختلف المجالات ليست المجالات المشمولة في الاتفاقيات ولا في مشمولة في خارطة الطريق إنما كل القضايا الأخرى من تعليم صحة اقتصاد خلافه لأنه إحنا نقول أنه الاتفاقية هي السبب الاتفاقية دي هدفها إزالة الشوائب والعوائق أمام العلاقة والطلاقة لكن مجالات التعاون أكبر بكثير جدا مما شملته هذه الاتفاقيات ودي تبقى مهمة اللجنة العليا إن شاء الله والناس يعني كل يوم إن شاء الله حيشوفوا العلاقة دي متطورة من حسن لأحسن ونحن طبعا إن شاء الله بنتوقع قريبا إن شاء الله الأخ سلفا في الخرطوم عشان أيضا نؤكد فعلا المؤكد أن هذه العلاقة إن طلعت الأمام ولن ترجع إلى الخلف إن شاء الله.
Both nations withdrew troops from border areas as agreed in an African Union. Both countries withdrew their troops from border areas as agreed in an African Union broker deal in September, but they took until March to set up the demilitarized border zone.
This is a redefining moment for relations between Juba and Khartoum that has been rocked by years of suspicion and mistrust necessitated by years of war. Both President Kiir and his Sudanese counterpart Omar Al-Bashir have agreed to fix their relations so that the two nations live side by side in peace with one another in respect of the international norms of good neighbors. Alejandro Lotok, SSTV News, State House, Juba.